everybody. Welcome to the Leader Lab. This is Leadership Shorts, quick thoughts to help you level up your leadership. My name is Chad Wright. I'm the founder of Forward Partners, and I am joined, as always, by my partner in podcasting, Emily Grace Deal. Emily Grace Deal, what are we talking about today?
Well, everything we produce says something about keep moving forward.
Yes.
I know the one we just did has it in Latin, so it's a little different, but it's still the same idea.
Yes.
So why has that become a foundational philosophy that we want leaders to embrace?
You know, it really started with this idea that if we can keep moving forward, we will find the success we're looking for. And if eventually we burn out, eventually we break, we stop moving forward, at that point, there's no chance we're going to find success. We lose the ability to keep playing in that game and to keep trying to find it. And so ultimately, Forward Movement was about that. But what's really interesting is as we really have done this work for a lot of years now and really lived with this philosophy, even in our own growth and development of always moving forward, I've noticed some things some benefits that come from it. And one of them is really, I think the basic perspective it gives you is super interesting. Because when you're doing good things for yourself, when you are moving forward, even if it's difficult, it just kind of changes how you see everything else, right? Interestingly, my wife and I had P. Terry's the other night. I love a good P. Terry's burger and fries, right? If you're making a lot of really terrible decisions about your health and you then have P. Terry's, there's some guilt that comes with that, right? The reality is I had just finished up at the gym and went next door to P. Terry's. There's no guilt, right? There was this exact same thing that would have generated guilt otherwise because we're moving forward and making good choices. I didn't really feel guilt about.
Right.
When you think about like weight, I think is an interesting one. We can look at numbers, and if you're gaining weight, you know, if you hit 185 and like that's the heaviest you've ever been, and then you keep going up, like that 185 is depressing, right? It is a sad number. You get upset about it. Can't believe I hit 185. If you're moving in the right direction, if you're making positive choices, it takes that exact same number. The number is just a reflection of where you are.
Right.
And ultimately that's all it is. And yet when you're going in the right direction, you hit that exact same number that you were depressed about 3 months earlier. And you go, oh my gosh, I'm at 185, and you're celebrating and throwing a party, and it's exciting.
Yeah, because it's like forward momentum.
Yes, that forward momentum generates a new kind of positive mindset. It generates a different perspective on, I think, almost everything. And it's true of everything in our lives. When you think about financially, right? If you're making terrible financial choices and your bank account is draining down and you got $1,000 in there, I just hit the mic. You okay over there, John? All right, John's still good. Listeners, you good?
Keep moving forward.
Listeners are still good. We're going to keep moving forward. You're making terrible financial choices, draining the bank. Now we're down to $1,000. Oh my God, we only have $1,000. And then it keeps going down, and then you start building back up. It's like, hey, we got $1,000 in the bank account, right? It just changes this perspective when you're making some positive choices, like you know? So that's been really helpful for us. But I think also it starts to create wins. And one of the things we talk about a lot is that idea of creating wins and then spotting them and talking about them and reminding ourselves we're really making progress. We are really doing a very good job.
And then when it gets tough, it is just that reminder to just take that next step.
Yes. And this is one of the hardest things, I think, for people when it comes to maintaining forward momentum is they don't spot the wins. They don't see the progress. They don't see, can you believe how far we've come? You know, they're so focused on where we're going that they don't notice, hey, little things. And one of my favorite things is we've started talking internally about, we've been really sharing our wins and challenges. And I always love the depth of those conversations because you never know where they're going to go. Every coaching session I start, whether it's a group or an individual, it starts with big win, big challenge.
Right.
And that opens so many different doors for us. But what I notice is when we start working with a group or a leader, I ask about the big win, and I hear a lot of, I don't know if I have any. And then I look up after we walked together for 5, 6, 7 months, and it's like, hey, I got 3 to share with you today.
Right. You can see them. You notice it.
Yes, you build that muscle, you start spotting them, and it's really vital. I think when we think about our lives, our careers, our parenting, you know, we just talked last episode about creating that journey that we love, creating that journey that it is not just about the final endpoint, it's about loving that journey. A lot of that is stopping and looking around and pausing, but you're looking for those wins,
Right.
those markers, because it gets really hard sometimes.
Well, I mean, when it's so easy for us to see those challenges and point them out, it also makes
Yes.
it easy to get bogged down in them. And even if they're little, it doesn't matter if they're
Absolutely.
big. The more they pile on, the easier it
Yeah.
is. And if you're not seeing the wins, you can't really shake off those challenges as easily. So
Yes.
that's that moving forward to just keep going and not getting bogged down by
Yeah,
it.
because if we get bogged down, there's a chance we might give up.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately, when you think about some of these really long journeys, whether it's raising kids or a career or a marriage or really a life, it's super easy to get bogged down because the journey seems so long.
Mm-hmm.
And so maintaining that forward motion, sometimes it's really tough because it does just seem like, man, why am I going to do the right thing today? Because we got such a long way to go.
Right.
And that is where those wins and spotting those can really make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
And I just love seeing the difference it makes when teams can start to talk about those wins and start to talk about, especially when it's a hard thing, right? Of, hey guys, we're in the middle of a really tough time. We're
Right.
short staffed. We got this huge challenge that's blown
Right.
up.
The littler wins do become more important.
They really do. And it's easy to say, hey, we've got this massive challenge. Why am I going to talk about these tiny little wins down here?
Mm-hmm.
That's when you need the wins the most, even if they are
Right.
small. And it's amazing to me how people will discount wins. They will really discount the size of them because I'll make people dig in when they say, I haven't had any wins. I'm like, nope, we're going to dig in here.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll start talking through and they'll pull something out like, oh yeah, this one guy was thinking about quitting and I was able to completely change his direction and help him out. And now he's really happy in his job. That's a huge win.
Mm-hmm.
But in their mind, it was just this little blip of a thing that
Well, I
happened.
mean, that's like our sheet writing it down
Yes.
seems so like monumental and like this huge thing. So, I mean, it's like literally writing it down helps because then it's
Yes.
like even little things, it doesn't matter how big or huge or tiny.
Yep.
It doesn't, the size isn't what's important. It's just seeing it and
Yes.
knowing that it made a difference. It made an impact in somebody else.
Yeah.
So,
And I think this makes such a difference for us individually. Like as we are all living our own lives, it really makes a difference for teams.
mm-hmm.
When you start having those conversations about progress, about forward momentum and celebrating and really celebrating the wins, it really starts to motivate them and drive them. And so I think it's a powerful thing to learn individually so that we can then go apply it to
Yeah, because you
others.
can see it in other people too. And then
Yes.
it's easier for you to then be like, hey, congratulations, good job on that. Like,
Yeah.
because you can also spot theirs. So,
Because interestingly, if we're not talking about it, then your team is only focusing on the challenges. They're getting bogged down. They're getting frustrated. They're getting irritated. And all of
Mhm.
that generates a version of them that is doing far more damage than we think.
right.
And is not able to get unstuck sometimes. And so it is as simple sometimes as changing their mindset and changing their perspective and helping them rewrite that story and say, no, don't forget, we're making progress. The forward momentum is happening, and help them see, kind of like looking at the number on the scale or the number in the bank account or whatever it is. And you can look at it from one angle and it looks terrible. And you look at it from the other angle and it looks great. That
Mhm.
slight change in perspective, just rewriting that story
Right.
makes such a difference, and it can
Definitely.
change how they see everything. Leaders, let's talk next steps. One of the biggest things you can do for yourself and your team is generate forward momentum. And when you're moving forward, when you're dedicated and committed to the idea that we're never going to stop, we are always going to move forward. You start to see the benefits of that motion. You start to see the mindset that it generates, where you're able to see certain things from a different angle, and you're able to kind of really embrace those and really start to use those as part of the story of why we're doing well, which is the wins. That generates wins, and you're able to see those markers of progress. And when your team feels like they're making progress, even in challenging times, they're far more likely to show up in a healthy way. It's one of the most powerful tools you're going to have as a leader, is really helping them see those wins, helping them see the forward progress that they are absolutely making. Emily, if people want to send us questions, if they want to send us subjects, comments, anything at all, where do they send that to?
The lab at forwardpartners.net.
lab@forwardpartners.net. If they want to find us online, where we are constantly creating leadership content, where do they find that?
At Forward Partner.
At Forward Partner, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. Emily, thank you for hosting with
Thank
me.
you.
John Porchlight Productions Vineyard, thank you for producing. Emily, other Emily, bringing the vibes. Thank you so much. And thank y'all for watching. Thank you for listening. Please share this with fellow leaders that need to be reminded of the wins and need to keep moving forward. We'll see you next time right here in the Leader Lab for Leadership Shorts.